welcome. Good afternoon. Hope you had a good lunch. And first of all, thank you to the organization for inviting me and for, I'm very excited to be in Moscow today. And what I'm going to present to you, it's how we implemented DevOps in ING. So which was our journey from 0 to 100%, and especially in our department. And later on, after showing some best practice, I will also talk about one of the applications we managed using this approach. But first of all, who I am? My name is Giuseppe. I'm also Italian. You can recognize from my way to make gestures. And I'm a computer engineer, Italian indeed, living in Holland since 5 years, and I work as a data engineer in this moment at ING. I don't talk Russian, but I have a small things, should be said, like Poyekali, yeah. Does anybody know from who is this one? Gagarin, yeah, so I choose a good one, very good. But yeah, so I also, my hobby is security and data, artificial intelligence, and yeah, how we can, make the best out of data and analytics. Before going to the journey and to explain what, the current point, I'm going to talk a bit about ING. Does anybody know who is ING? What kind of company? Yeah, great. Actually, we are also in Russia, but only for wholesale banking customers. And if I have to describe ING, ING is a data-driven company, IT company with a license in the financial services. And we are in more than 40 countries, 30 million, and more than 50,000 customers. So if you see, 4 years ago, we started a new strategy. And yeah, the main point of the strategy was to empower people to stay a step ahead in life and business. So we want to help the customer to enjoy their life and to achieve the best out of their business in all sorts of way. And how we can do it? We can do it knowing better our customers. And so if you see that the highlighted point is by developing analytical skills that can help us to understand better our customers. And so in order to do this, we had to improve our analytics capability. And we introduced slowly, especially in my department, this concept of continuous analytics. Continuous analytics it's based on business DevOps from the process and communication people perspective. And on the other side, we had continuous delivery. So we adopt all the tooling that probably you know a lot already to create this concept of continuous analytics, which is a cycle, basically. So we wanted every project we run in the analytics department has to go through this cycle. And basically, we start with data exploration, so the data scientists can do their work, do the research, analyze data, and then iteratively they can switch to the other points. So develop the model, they can test it, put in production, and improve it. What is particular in this approach is that all these people work all together in the same team, and this is boosting the productivity, but also the quality. There are less impediments of waiting people, indeed, as another person was saying, sitting one wall behind you. And we also adopt this other type of structure. Does anybody know what is a squad, what is a chapter, a guild, for instance? Yeah? Okay, does anybody else? That's nice, but for the people who does not know about them, this is like the Spotify model. So it's like the latest agile way of organizing a team or a department. You can see that each team is called squad and it's containing different type of people with different skills. So we can go from the business person, so indeed business DevOps, called here customer journey expert, to more technical people like dev, ops people, data analysts, data science. And so they, as a team, as a squad, they work on one product or one feature of the business. And we also have another entity, another person which is involved in the squad, which is the agile coach. Because we adopt Scrum, so the agile coach is checking, is helping to boosting the usage of the Scrum and the agile approach. And What you can also see here is that here you have the squad, so the team, which share indeed the product and the feature. But we also have another layer called chapter. And the chapter is an organization of people who share the same set of skills. So for instance, I am an engineer for big data, and I'm part of the fast data chapter. So all the people which, with skills in Spark, Fling, all this streaming, batch technology are part of the same chapter. And what does it mean? Means that a part of your daily work in your squad on your product, you also have some time to spend together with your chapter to do sharing knowledge, but also to work on special projects and to improve and boost the internal knowledge, basically. And for instance, this one is, so taking this framework, this is applied to our department. And our department is called Analytics because indeed we work on batch and streaming application which given some events, given some data from the customer profile or the customer history, we develop application to generate recommendation for the customer, insights, so everything that can help the customer to be a step ahead indeed. And for instance, we are organizing chapter and squad indeed. So we have the chapter are more like skill based. You have the data analyst, data science, fast data, customer journey, which are the people, the business people, and the squad is more like, okay, decision engine, so it's the recommendator which provide insight, or like big data analytics is more the cluster people, the one who provide the framework. But so this one is the organization that we have now, but to go there, it was a journey, so it did not happen in one day. It took some time, and more or less everything started around 2010. And the first things that we had to do as a company was to bring engineering culture. So bring the right people with the right technical skill, let them share knowledge, let them work on project, and so this was the first step that we still do, of course, still now. But once we got the right people, because indeed it's like a process, it's a people process, we had to let them know the continuous delivery concept, the DevOps concept. So basically we gave them training, we gave them space to work on this technology, and as a result, they implemented them in their own team. So they started to automate stuff for their project, for their application, and that was very good, but was not enough, because basically what was happening is that every team was doing the automation by themselves, so there were a lot of knowledge, but was not shared, and there was no standardization. The license cost was, they were duplicated, and so at that point, indeed we moved, you can see there the team commitment, that's what I'm talking about. But at that point, for a huge organization like ING, it was the moment to scale. So the moment to create an enterprise commitment. So some kind of team or group, global group, which is helping the whole organization to share knowledge and to use the best practice to standardize things and make it happen. And from that, enterprise commitment meant also management commitment. So you need to have that the manager is on the same page, is providing time and money, budget to do this. And from there, we developed something called continuous delivery as a service, which is basically a layer of a global team which is providing a global service for the whole company. So that was a nice overview of what actually CD as a service means. It's also like well presented from the business point of view, but from the technical point of view, what does it mean? It means that we created a unique pipeline made of 5 points, which are code, build, deploy, test, and release. And for each of these, we have selected some tool, some internal tool, but also external tool that help us to standardize, to create the best practice. And what you see is that when you set up your project, your new application, you see that this pipeline is already given by this team. So basically, you save a lot of time. You have little configuration to do, but most of it is there. And what you see, for instance, indeed, you get standardization, automation, best practice, and the delivery is faster and with better quality. For instance, we use GitLab for the versioning of the software, and of course, given GitLab, we use the 4i principle to do the request, the merging of the code in the develop or master. We use Jenkins for the building part, plus some other tool like Fortify, Maven to do secure code review to check to check which library and which artifact are used. And for the rest, we use Nolio for deployment, Artifactory to save the artifacts, and we have high tests, but apart of this, we do a lot of like test-driven development. We have unit tests in place, and the last part, the releasing process, which is the most important because it's the process when you are actually going to production, is controlled by an internal tool, which I will show you later. And this is a bit of a statistics to see how many deployments we do monthly. For October, what I would like to add is that I took the picture before the end of the month, so that's why you see a small amount. And so the releasing part is really important because it's the moment when your product is reaching the customer, and you want to be sure that that part there is quality and there is, from the security and from the risk point of view, everything is checked. And what you have built is this tool called iValidate. So it's an internal tool, you will not find it online. But what basically it does, it does some automatic check against, for instance, this set of points, which basically they cover the code quality, they cover performance test, they check if everything is in control from the risk perspective and from the CMDB perspective, change perspective, so all the small layer of IT that we still use in our company, that of course is a huge enterprise, so you need to have a bit of that. And we have all the approval checked in automatic, we have performance check and as well security check. And the last point is also really important because we check that for that application, for the environments that are there, for the whole chain of DTAP environments, everything is under control from the risk perspective as well. So, what is this? I think I pushed I pushed the wrong button. So that was a bit what we have in place from the DevOps perspective, the continuous delivery. So from the people perspective and also from the tool perspective. How we use this environment, I will show you, for instance, with this application called Actionable Insight. So I told you that basically, as a bank, we want to be there for the customer, personal and relevant, and minimize, the pain that the customer can feel during these processes. So we created something called Actionable Insight, which is a recommender basically, or a decision engine, which is using machine learning technique, but also a rule-based rule, basically, that based on the customer data from the profile perspective, the historical perspective, and event generated by the customer, such as transactions or some particular search on the website, we generate some suggestion for the customer. So because you are looking for a mortgage, we check that you don't have yet a mortgage, so we propose you something connected to a mortgage, for instance. I'm gonna show you something more now. Why we do it? Because we want to be omnichannel for the customer, so we want to improve the customer experience, the customer journey from the customer perspective over all the channel that they use to interact with the bank. So we want to have that they can use all the channels to connect with the bank, as in the same way they can start one journey, one process in one channel, and they can continue it from another one. And when they do this, we want to communicate with the customer, being relevant, so we know what the customer is talking about, which is the status of the customer. We want to be personal. We want to generate recommendations that are actionable, meaning that we don't want to annoy the customer with a lot of propositions or a lot of text. We want to offer small propositions which are clear and direct and that are actionable in such a way that with one click, they can use it, for instance. And of course, we have to be secure and reliable as a bank. This is, for instance, an explanation of the product that we have. So we built this product called Decision Engine. This Decision Engine, from a technical perspective, is using batch approach and streaming approach to process data and generate insight. And with this insight, we publish them on different locations of the omnichannel process. So, for instance, the actionable insight, the one on the top, that one is showed on the website on the top of all the transactions, while the others have special location, like the product page or some other location. And indeed, you can see below that we use customer data, customer behavior, and we imply also some modeling of this data. This one, for instance, is one I was talking about before. So the actionable insight is located on the top of the personal page of the customer. You can see it here. And what it's proposing is basically a credit card insight. So basically, because the customer has a credit account, a credit card, and the end of the month is almost reached, he spent some money, he has to pay back, but his current account is not enough to pay back that amount. So we say, hey, we send a notification, an insight to the customer saying, hey, you have to pay back €1,000, but on your current account, you only have like 200, while we see that on your savings account, you also have 800 enough to pay back. So we suggest to move money from his savings account to his current account. And what you see, this kind of proposition insight, they're always implying like current account, savings account, so it's always internal. We want to improve the customer from the financial handling perspective. So we want to make it easier and more understandable for the customer. While this one, for instance, this other proposition generated from the decision engine, it's located somewhere else in the page, so particular is below. And what you see here basically is like a card which is proposing some kind of recommendation for a travel insurance. And how we do it, basically we see that the customer did some transaction on booking.com, for instance, on Trivago, so some transaction regarding traveling. And we know that the customer does not have a travel insurance with us, so we say, okay, because of these transactions and your profile, we propose you a travel insurance. So that was the product that we built, and I'm going to show you a bit now the technology we used. Does anybody is handy with batch technology, with streaming, like Spark, Fling? Nice. One person, 2, 3, 4, nice, 5, 6. Okay, nice. So basically, I'm going to show you the architecture that we have built. On the right side, you can see the name of the tool that we used. But everything that you see here is based on a Kafka message bus, where all the events coming from the transaction, coming from the profile, coming from every kind of interaction that the customer does with the channels, they are published here. And what we do, we have some component, basically some application built with Fling, which process this data. And in particular, we have the first component, which is like a pattern detection module. So given some event, not just one, but also a series that is forming some kind of pattern, we transform this series of raw events, we call, because our raw are a single step, in one business event, which is like the pattern that we were looking for. So, for instance, let's say that one case to explain it better, like we have a customer which is out for shopping, and she goes to one shop to buy some, I don't know, some food. She goes to another one buying some clothes, and then at one point she's almost without any credit on her balance. So we check this event and we say, okay, given that, and this module is checking all these transactions, at one point say, okay, your transaction, your balance is almost zero, so given this, we're going to propose you, we generate the business event of propose to the customer to move some money from savings to current account. So this one is like the component which recognize the event. The second one is the machine learning component. So basically, in this component, we have a series of features. Each business event can be a part of this feature of the model, and plus there is also some static data, some profile data, which is not changing for the customer that much. And what is also interesting in this point is that this is also respecting the continuous analytics process. Basically, you have that the machine learning engine is loading the module from these parts. The module are defined with interface language called PMML, which is like an XML data format to convert some generic model in a unified way in a XML. So this machine learning component can load all these models that are written in parallel from the data science in the system, and they will be automatically used to score for the business event of the customer. And the last one is the component that, given the proposition that we generated for the customer, it decides in which channel we want to show it. So if it has to be an outbound communication, so we send an email or a message, an SMS, or a normal mail to the customer, or we want to have an inbound communication. So we save this insight, we save this proposition for the next time that the customer is on the website. And that's what we are doing, for instance, in this case. We generate this, and the first time that the customer is there, we're gonna send it out. Sorry. How we build this? I also left a small introduction to Fling, which is the tool that we use. What is this? Fling is a framework which is implementing the streaming first approach to data process, basically. It's quite interesting because it's different from what we have with Spark, because Spark is based on micro batching, and it's also giving like building streamings over batch, while with Fling is natively streaming, so it's quite faster. You can do checkpointing, watermarking, but let's see some of the benefits. Yeah, the benefits are of course that are this true streaming, high volume, meaning like can process millions of events per second, especially if you have the right cluster in place. Features that are also offered and that we use are the complex event processing, which is here. And basically this one is a module from Fling, which allows us to, given us a pattern, giving a series of events, we want to generate and recognize a pattern. And conclusion, so that was it. Basically, I tried to show you, indeed, to summarize what happened from the company process, people perspective. You see that DevOps and continuous delivery is not something that is plug and play. You don't put it in and then it's working. You need some time. You need people to get used to. You need to get the right setup and the right people in place. And to use, I also like to use this setup in our analytics department. I like the continuous analytic concept because you have an overview of all the steps that takes to go from just raw data to something that is usable for the customer. And that was it. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you. Yeah. Hi.
First of all, thanks for being in Moscow. And there is one question. Did you use some distribution of big data, like Cloudera or Cotton, or build software yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. What you see, I removed it from the slide deck, but basically we have our home cluster, and actually what you see is that we have our own cluster implementing Fling. We are also really in straight contact with the data artisans, the company behind Fling, to build, to provide the requirement, to provide the bug fixing. And yeah, what you see here, basically, this is everything in our home cluster. And in one cluster, we have the different environments separated. And also something interesting, because I was listening something before about cloud as a service. We have in this moment that we have two clusters, one which is built on our internal cluster, and one which is on our own cloud, sorry, and one which is built on our own old style virtual machine. But we are also exploring, for instance, cloud on-premises opportunity.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Something else?
Maybe somebody wants to say something in Russian and doesn't people do it.
Go ahead, we have a translator. So it's, yeah, if you want. Well, then I hope you enjoyed, and if you have later some question, I will be around here for the rest of the conference. Thank you.